we were all asked by the creator, what is your name and did you live up to it? Which is a very scary question and I think moment in every soul's journey. Welcome to Spiritually Hungry, summertime episode.
We're having an amazing summer, as we are. We're very much enjoying our summer.
It doesn't really feel like summer, does it?
It doesn't. I always thought about that when you were a kid, right? The summer's like a big deal, 2 months. When you're an adult, you just continue working.
I know. I really feel like I need to, at least the last 2 weeks of summer, kind of just like not speak to anybody.
That's a good idea. Not even me?
I don't know. I haven't decided yet. So today we're talking about names, and this topic almost didn't make it to today's episode because you didn't think it was a good one. But luckily,
maybe our listeners will let us know if they agree. Luckily,
we went out with our friends Lynn and Mati last night, and they thought it was a great topic. So we're going to go for it.
Absolutely. This is my favorite topic so far.
How do you feel about your name?
My
Michael?
name?
Yes.
It's funny. I always growing up, it was like I had a dual thoughts. One was that I didn't love it, especially in the Hebrew version as a name.
Michael?
Exactly. But I did know that it was definitely my name.
Why didn't you like it then?
No, just other names I like more. Like I like it named David more. Like there's names that I just like, But we know, as we're going to talk about today, the name of anything is not, especially if we're talking about naming our children, it's not about names that we necessarily like or don't like, which maybe is the way most people name their children or really anything, but rather it's coming to know what is the actual name of the soul.
Yeah, people get really creative even with like taking a traditional name but changing the spelling. Do you know what your name means?
Yes.
Do you want to enlighten us?
My name it has many meanings, but basically it is translated as who is like God, denoting the power or the force of the light of the creator.
So like gift from God.
No.
Who is like God? Is that what you're saying?
Who is like God, yes. Avigail, which is the name of our daughter, is a joy of the Father.
Of the Father. We're going to get to that, though.
Sorry.
I'm not really sure why you just like bypassed
No, I thought that's why.
We're just talking.
You said.
No, I thought yours
God.
was. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
It's also the name of one of the 4 main angels, the archangels.
Do you want to take us through the 4?
Yes, all 4.
Enlighten us again.
Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel. There
you go. So I looked at my own name and found
Monica or your.
Well, again, I'm going to get to that. So I found the results to be startlingly accurate.
The first time you looked up your name?
No, I did this a little way. I actually did this when we were naming our 4th child, Abigail. And I was kind of curious to know more about her name because we were really drawn to that for her specifically. And then I was like, well, while I'm at it. And so then I looked up my name, your name, I guess inaccurately, and then our children's names. So the Latin name of Monica means to advise or counselor. People with this name have a deep inner need for quiet and a desire to understand and analyze the world they live in and to learn the deeper truths. I wish I had time more for that part. People with this name tend to initiate events, to be leaders with powerful personalities rather than followers. They tend to be focused on specific goals, experience a wealth of creative new ideas, and have the ability to implement these ideas with efficiency and determination. I can keep going.
Wow.
I know.
Wow. I'm so happy I married you. Who knew?
But I will add, as unique and creative individuals, they tend to resent authority and are sometimes stubborn, proud, and impatient, which honestly is all true as well.
Oh.
Does it sound like me?
No, I was going to say none of that sounds like none of the bad stuff does.
Sure.
I always notice you always like it, like when you look at, and not that they often do this, when you look at astrology stuff like in newspapers, and it's always positive. Can you imagine if they were like negative?
Well, that's why I always put the negative.
I don't even reading them.
I put the negative in too. I mean,
isn't there? I think this is in one of the movies. It goes, "Today, don't go out today."
No, it's not that I resent authority, but I really have a problem with arbitrary rules. There's this aligned. So I actually didn't always like my name either.
I did.
Because when I moved to Beverly Hills when I was 9, we went to Santa Monica, Beach, Santa Monica Pier, drove to Santa Monica, and all the kids in school like, oh, Santa, Santa, Santa Monica. And I didn't want like an image of, you know, a guy with a beard and a red suit every time.
Oh, Santa just means saint.
Again, as I was going to continue what I was saying. So that was my thought like throughout my childhood. And then I didn't give it much thought. Then I was at dinner in my adulthood, and I struck up a conversation with the server, and his name was Carlos. And I said, oh, it's funny, Carlos Monica. I know this couple. They're actually divorced now. But at the time, I said, I know this couple. And he said, well, do you like your name? And I said, well, not really. And I shared with him what I just shared. And he said, well, you know, it's Saint Monica. And the real question is, are you living up to your name? And I was like, So then I started to think about that very specifically. And so every time I hear my name called, or I think about just my expression day to day, I think, am I living up to my name? Which is why I think this podcast is actually a very important topic today.
Are we going to talk about Rochelle or not? Are we going to talk about Rochelle?
We're going to talk about my Hebrew name is Rachel.
And your middle name is?
Rochelle.
Rochelle.
No, it's not Rochelle. It's Rochelle.
Are you sure?
Yes,
it's an E,
I'm
not
sure.
an O? I think I've seen it with
It's an O. It's Rochelle.
Is that how you pronounce it?
Oh, sweetie. Rochelle? Okay. So Rachel.
What did you say? Rochelle?
Oh my God, you're so getting off track here today.
Rochelle.
So Rachel, my Hebrew name, it means lamb. Is that correct?
It can.
Well, how would you define it?
Well, translate it doesn't have exact. That's only direct translation you would have from sort of the ancient writings.
And the matriarch, she was Jacob's favorite wife. She was strongly maternal, and she's known for love and protection. So what's interesting is when I think about both of my names, I go by Monica.
I'm going to start calling you Rochelle.
Well, then
R-I-C-H.
No one's going to be responding to your calls. You can do that. Actually, you should start doing that.
Rochelle?
Yes.
Rochelle.
And then I have a legitimate excuse to ignore you. Exactly. So anyway, I feel connected to Monica because I feel like all of those characteristics I described led me to find my spiritual path and my purpose in Kabbalah. But then I feel like Rachel is actually what my soul's connected to, and it's what inspires me today, and it's who I express myself today. So I find that
interesting.
Yeah. So tell me if this is what you think about this. The Midrash in Portion by Akel states that every person has three names, right? The name that their parents call them, the name that their friends call them, and the name that they create for themselves.
Okay.
The most significant out of these three would be the name that you create for yourself, right? Because some people are not happy with the name they were born with. They don't feel connected to it. They don't feel inspired by it. And that somehow does affect, I think, how we express ourselves and also how we view ourselves.
Absolutely. I think, and I would go, so I would start, right? So the name parents called them. I think I often get probably at least once a week a call from parents who've just given birth. And they want to talk about the names because we do give great importance to the name, because the name is the conduit by which the light of the Creator flows to the individual.
Meaning it's how the Creator can respond to you or find you?
Both. But the idea is, imagine, sort of, it's the conduit, right? So when you have electricity in the house, there are the wires that come from the pole all the way into your house. And so spiritually, the way we see a name is that it's literally the building of the conduits between the soul, the individual, and the light of the Creator. If there's something wrong with the name, then there can be something lacking in the type of light and blessings that person is drawing, so much so that the Kabbalists often say sometimes that if a person is having what they call bad luck, or things aren't going the way that the individual desires them to go.
Or issue after issue.
Right. So there is an idea of changing the names, that by changing the name, one changes their luck or one changes their path. But it begins with a basic understanding that names are the conduits, the channels. They're not just letters put together to form a way to call somebody, but rather they are the conduits by which the light of the Creator flows into a person's life. So therefore, it's very, very important. So
especially if people are named after a relative, and if that relative had a really difficult life or died young or had an illness, and then you see that the one that was named after them now is following kind of in that path, the first thing Kabbalists recommend is to change the name.
Yeah, I mean, in one of my father's earlier books about reincarnation, he brings a number of stories to that point, which is that, so it's important to realize, as we said, the first part on the understanding a name, and by the way, this is true certainly about people's names, but it's true about anything. If a person's creating a business, giving it a name. Names are important because names are conduits for light. So if a person creates a business and he gives it a name, and that name then is the conduit by which light and blessings flow into that business. But back to a child, to a human.
It's funny because I do that when I write books, even if it's not the name that I ultimately, I always name it really early on. Sometimes I edit it later, but I don't know, it has a place for everything to kind of rest and grow into.
Absolutely. So when parents call me for consultation about naming their child, the first thing that I say is that we are not naming, meaning we're not sort of out of nowhere going to give a new name to this child, to this soul, but rather the consciousness needs to be, what is this soul's name? Because even before it came into this physical world, it has a name. And the purpose of a parent is to try to ascertain what has been, and therefore what is this soul's name, as opposed to sometimes I think people think, I'll just give it, I'm giving this child a name. But that's not really the way one should be thinking about it. One should be thinking, this soul already has a name. How can I meditate upon and find the way to connect to, and therefore name it its rightful name?
So when you say the soul has a name, are you implying or suggesting that the soul, that child, right, is coming from or is a part of or attached to a righteous soul? Let's say that, so for instance, let's say we named one of our daughters Miriam, and we felt that was her name. So is her soul coming from a righteous?
So that's the second part. So I want to be clear. So the first part is the understanding that the soul has a name. The second part is, okay.
But what does that mean though?
I think the second part will explain it. All of the souls of humanity, all the billions and billions of souls that have been, that are, and that will ever be, they are seen to come from what we call the tree of life, or the tree of the souls. And as with a tree has many branches. It's certainly a very large tree, many branches. And on the branch, there could be other little branches that come out, and certainly leaves. So if you understand that there's what's called the same root of soul, why are there people that we feel a kinship with? Why are there people we feel naturally close to, or even initially when we first meet them, there's something special about the relationship? Is because very likely we are from the same branch of souls. That branch of souls might have hundreds of thousands, might have millions of souls, but we are from that branch of soul. So when we think about the name of a child, understanding that that child comes from a branch of soul, you gave the example of one of our daughters, Miriam. So in meditating upon her name, her soul, right, you also want to attach and connect that soul with a powerful conduit of light that has existed before. In this case, we felt that her soul is connected to, in some way, the great matriarch, the prophetess Miriam,
and
therefore we gave her the name. We often, and again, I know many, this might be a little controversial, we do not usually name after relatives for the reason that you gave, because by giving your name, you're actually attaching that person or that soul to whoever it is you're naming them after. Now that might not
much as you love them, you just don't want to limit the potential of the soul that's now coming in.
Exactly, or weigh it down with unnecessary baggage. I have these conversations often where persons say, I want to name them after my mother, grandmother, or whatever, or uncle. And then I say, well, did they have a good life? Now, it could be that you love them, but if they lived a life of suffering, I'm not sure that you really, and it's always surprising to me that you will have sometimes people who feel the need or the desire to attach their newborn child to somebody whose life was not something that they would want their child's life to be. So all that to say that names are very, very important. You want to really ascertain what is the root of that soul if you're naming a new child or even a new business or anything that's new. And secondly, you want to try to figure out, sense what root of righteous soul this soul is connected to, and try to give it or connect it at least to that name. As a complete aside, we were having dinner with friends of ours a few nights ago, and he said that he has saved his friends, millions of dollars by saying that he's in different businesses. One of his businesses is a very successful clothing business, and he said people have come to me with names, And I said, do not name something, do not give it a name that people can't remember easily. Because then if they can't remember it easily, you're not going to do well. He said, in his words, he saved people millions of dollars by making them not, or enabling them not to get the wrong.
Yeah.
If you can't pronounce it, then nobody's going to remember it, which I thought was interesting. All that to say, on physical levels, on spiritual levels, names are very, very important.
So I think another part of why that's so, I mean, I can just hold a mirror up and you can talk.
Yes, you should. Let's try that.
So according to the Midrash, after a person dies, right, there's a certain judgment.
That's exactly what I want to talk about.
I know. I had a sense, actually, and that's why I wanted to say it first.
Sixth sense.
So, because I could see you getting excited, and I was like, where's Michael going?
Oh, I was excited.
So, so after a person dies, there's a judgment that they face, right? It's and by that, we're all asked by the Creator, what is your name and did you live up to it? Which is a very scary question and I think moment in every soul's journey.
And it's a very important point, but
because the answer is going to be,
well,
I mean, so
to be clear, we do not, there's some people who have views that are sort of judgment is, God's going to look at you and say, oh, I don't like what you did, let me beat you up, or whatever those things are. That's not at all what happens. The only thing that happens is that the soul. Well, what?
Is that what most people would think?
I think, well, those who are sort of,
like
have a religious view, or there's be a burning fire that person, all silly stuff like that.
And that this sounds like the Creator is punishing you, and that's not what
Also,
that is.
There's only one thing that happens. A person is shown who they could have been. And in measuring...
I get the chills every time I think of it. That's such a painful... Because again, no matter what a person does, it's like...
Well, right, but it's just a matter of what the difference is, right? But the pain of the soul, and this is what hell is the person seeing, oh, I could have been that, and I was only this.
It's like that parable, right? Naphtali, but when he goes through this process and he goes up, and the Creator says, Naphtali, what happened to all the books that you were going to write? That and all of these things, and he's like, what books? I never wrote any books, and it was all of these things that his soul potentially could have done and didn't, and that really drives me every day. So what is your name is another way of asking, did you live up to your vows or your soul contract that you took before you came into this world? Because every soul does make one.
And this is a very, very important idea. So it says in the Zohar that if a person did not live up to their name, it's interesting. I was having a conversation today with somebody whose loved one is going through a process of leaving this physical world. And one of the things that sometimes happens, people forget the names of their loved ones. But the scariest...
What do you mean they forget the names?
Like, just sort of the mind starts going and they can't remember.
For the one that's going through that transition.
Right. But the Zohar says that the worst thing that happens to a soul is that they're asked their name when they leave this world and they can't remember their name. And that's why, by the way, there is a custom, for instance, as a person is being buried, to remind them, don't forget your name is such and such.
That's part of the prayer?
It's just an action, words that are said to the body as it's being lowered into the ground. So
why do some people forget their own name?
Let's take a person whose name is Aaron. Hebrew or English, whatever. And if we understand that name, however, if you spell Aaron with 2 A's, R-O-N, right? Those 5 letters, or in the Hebrew it's Aleph, He, Resh, Nun, those 4 letters. As a person's living their life, they're actually building their name, right? So Monica, as you continue growing and expanding and sharing, you might not see it physically, but what is actually happening, your name is being filled out. The purpose of our lives in all the years that we're in this physical world is to build our name. Not our name as people sometimes think about it, oh, people know my name or ego, but just fill it up. Imagine
like
we're
bubble
born.
Letters. Those
exactly. Imagine we're born with sort of the outline of our name. And every day we're filling it in with light by actions of sharing, transformation, growth, and so on. If a person filled their name, then it's a thing. It's a reality. And then even when they leave this physical world, they are attached to it. It's theirs. If a person didn't fill their name, then when we speak about forgetting, when a person forgets their name when they die, it's because their name wasn't brought into existence by them while they were in this physical world. And that's the secret of the whole concept that the Zohar speaks of, that a person who hasn't done or accomplished what he or she was meant to accomplish in this world, they forget their name when they leave this world.
Wow,
and they're in a state of confusion. And again, obviously, we not so much talk about the macabre and what happens, when a person leaves this world, but for all of us who are still in this physical world, to understand that every day we wake up, that's our job. There is our name, call it our soul, call it our conduits of light and blessings. What am I doing today to build my name? So that, as we say, chas v'shalom, when a person leaves this physical world, he actually has a name with which to go.
So he leaves with the strength of that name and all of all that it actualized.
Exactly.
To clarify, you're saying when a person forgets as they're transitioning, you're not saying like a disease of...
No. I mean, that's a whole different conversation. No, when a person has physically left this world, when the soul has left the body.
They're leaving the body.
And the body is going back and forth, the most confusing state is when a person cannot remember the name. And the reason why a person would not be able to remember the name is that they didn't build their name while they were in this world.
So to make sure that, I think to ensure that we are expanding our names, I think that taking an accounting of the soul every day before we sleep is really important, or maybe even when we wake up as well. And it's particularly apt for this time of year, just before we're coming to Rosh Hashanah in a few weeks. So I think that for all of our listeners, a great exercise would be to ask yourself this question every evening, every morning: where did I fail? Where did I succeed? How can I do better? Can I repair what I've messed up? Am I doing what my soul came to this world to do? Did I live up to my name? Did you live up to your name is like asking, did you live up to your soul? Did you live up to your potential? And I think that if we really ask every single day, it's hard not to then invest energy in the places that will build us the most. And the truth is, if you ask yourself these questions every day, the answer is going to change every day. And it should, right? And that's the whole purpose of our existence, is that transformation and evolution.
The one more thing, the only other thing that I would add is that I meditate on my name about 5 times a day. And it's an important...
During your prayers.
So 3 times during the prayers. And then once in the morning, you're supposed to meditate on your name as your soul comes back into your body. You're supposed to meditate upon your name before you go to sleep, as your soul leaves the body.
Do you say Michael, son of... You say the whole...
Yeah, it depends. Again, there's a lot of details to this. Is actually verses from the Bible that correspond to a person's name. But to put it very simply for our listeners, the idea is that to really take ownership of your name. I think too many of us aren't, sort of understanding the importance of the name and therefore owning it. So whether you do it 1 time a day or 2 times a day, maybe when you wake up in the morning, whatever your name is, if it's Michael, if it's Monica, if it's David, just understand what's happening, that these are the conduits of your soul's light. And today you will endeavor to fill that name up with as much light, with as much of its potential.
Well, now I have to pick which name I want to meditate on.
Meditate on both.
I think I will. So that's kind of interesting. There's a psychological connection that we have with our names also. Psychologist Jean Twenge conducted a study that found people
who... change his name. Twenge? Tweng?
E-N-G, yeah, Twenge. Conducted, now you're going to remember his name though, so maybe you should keep it. Conducted a study...
I don't think he's going to be listening to my advice about changing his last name.
So he conducted a study that found people who didn't like their own name tended to lack in mental wellness, outlook on life, and positive self-reflection. Twenge posited that this was most likely either because their lack of self-esteem caused them to dislike their name, or disliking their name contributed to their lack of self-esteem. So either way, the name becomes a symbol of self. And then, of course, there's many stereotypes around names. One of my favorite movies, The Breakfast Club, there's one scene, I don't think they would write this in films today, but Judd Nelson is he's like this tough guy, and he kind of has a crush on Molly Ringwald's character, who's like a goody-goody, and he says, "What's your name?" She said, "Claire." He's like, "Claire can't be your name. That's a fat person's name." Exactly. But
you just offended all the Claires listening to the podcast.
I did not write The Breakfast Club, and I also didn't film it, and I'm just saying I like the movie. But there are stereotypes around names. So if I ask you right now, picture an Elizabeth, right? You might have a certain visualization, like a visual that goes with that. Same thing with Misty, right? A different idea. So There's a study actually that they took 400 American participants. Elizabeths are high in warmth and competence. This is what their views were. While Mistys are low on both of these positive traits. Rileys are seen as warm but not competent. And Ruths are viewed as competent but not warm. Isn't that fascinating? And there's one more thing. Okay. In the book Freakonomics, in their first book, they classified names by wealth. So statistically, Brittany's parents are poor. Olivia's are wealthy. In another study, a group of people were given a list of names and asked to guess their academic success. Catherine goes to private school statistically. Lauren goes to public university. And Brianna goes to community college. Sierra and Dakota don't go to college at all. And this is by researcher John Wagner. I did not say this, but I just thought it was so interesting. So what's in a name?
A lot.
And what do we think? A lot. And also our views and our stereotypes. I mean, really, people, you hear somebody's name and then you already have a picture and maybe an opinion that goes with that. So no matter what your name is, you can certainly change your cassette, but make sure you feel connected to it and meditate on expanding it each day.
Yeah, I think that's maybe the most important message, right? That our names are important. They are conduits of light. And especially now during the summer, make sure that you're filling your name up with the great light that is your potential. Hope you're enjoying your summer. Hope you enjoyed this podcast as much as we enjoyed recording it. And
stay spiritually hungry
and out of the sun.